I'm Em Sutter, better known as Pints and Panels.
And I am Don Test, better known as the Dawn of Beer.
Welcome to episode 68 of the All About Beer podcast. Every 2 weeks, we talk with leading experts and take a deep dive into one topic in beer. This week on the podcast, we'll be talking with local maltsters and how they work with local breweries. Please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And visit allaboutbeer.com /to support this show and others. So, Don.
Yes.
You're a real malt guy.
One might even say I'm a nerd about it.
What? No way. I've never heard of this. So I bet you're very excited for this show.
Yeah, it's a seedy business, but we'll get deep into the weeds about it.
Okay. Are you done?
I am done. Thank you.
Okay, great. If you would like to support the All About Beer podcast, reach out to podcast@allaboutbeer.com. Speaking of supporting the show, here's our word from our sponsor.
This program is brought to you by Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family-owned, operated, and argued over.
Amanda Cardinale is a founder, owner, and production lead of Atlantic City, New Jersey-based The Seed, a living beer project. Amanda has been brewing professionally for over a decade, and during that time has developed a tremendous passion for the marriage between local ingredients and fermentation. Whether it be through local grain-focused lager or local agricultural-focused mixed culture beer, Amanda uses The Seed to build a community and ethos focused on embracing, preserving, and sharing the bounties of the local area. Always advocating for focused and intentional ingredient selection and a similar attention to detail on the process side, Amanda is a beacon of the local ingredient movement in the tri-state area. Outside of running the brewery, Amanda loves spending time adventuring with her dog Brett, hiking, traveling, expanding, and caring for a never-ending collection of houseplants, and reading. Hillary Burrell is a fifth-generation farmer and head maltster for Rabbit Hill Farms and Malthouse, a producer of New Jersey-grown ingredients for local craft brewers and distillers. The family farm also grows sod and commodity grains on the 585 acres in southern New Jersey. Along with her brother, Hillary initiated the farmer's transition, from vegetable farming to the production of malting barley with the construction of their craft malt house in 2016. Since then, Rabbit Hill has focused on the production of base malts in their 1-ton floor malting facility with the goal of helping brewers and distillers explore what contribution grains can have to develop a regional flavor. As a former student of environmental chemistry and farmland conservation planning, Hillary is particularly interested in finding strategies to build a more environmentally and economically sustainable farm system, starting with her own land. She lives on the farm with her husband and 2 sons. Welcome to the show, Hillary and Amanda.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Great. Well, so you, hold on a second. So Amanda is the brewer, and Hillary is the maltster. This is correct, right? I was like,
you got it.
It was like Lenny White, Carl Black, from The Simpsons. So I was trying to make sure. That was a really bad example to start with. So like, how do you guys work together? This is a very open-ended question. What's it like, Amanda? Do you go to Hillary and say, I'm brewing a Saison, I need blank? Hillary comes to Amanda and says, I've got really good, whatever. Is it for all styles, one styles? How does it work? That's the big question of the day.
We use Hillary's malt for all of our lagers and Saison. So I've just kind of basically try to base my brewing schedule loosely around what Hillary has available. Yeah, which most of the time she has everything I need, but obviously Hillary is a very popular lady, as is her grain. So sometimes I gotta call a couple audibles. But yeah, I think that we're pretty much in contact regularly. Hillary always makes sure to keep me in the loop of her availability, so I can kind of adjust accordingly. But yeah, I mean, we're very flexible over here. We don't really have like flagships or our saison. Basically, I use that as like a good opportunity to kind of like clean up what we have open and what we haven't used in a minute, and um, it kind of works out because saison we're pretty free with. The lagers a little bit of a different story, but yeah, I mean we like to keep it pretty simple. So I basically just bother Hillary a lot for Pilsner malt.
Is there a reason you don't use Hillary's malt for like, let's say IPAs, or do you not
Um,
brew or like other styles, or is it just
we do actually. I
oh,
essentially all of our beer. There might be like maybe two beers off the top of my head that don't use Hillary's malt, and all of our beer uses some of Hillary's malt. Our lagers and saison are just 100%. Our IPAs feature her malted red wheat, malted oats, chip malt. Um, the double IPAs usually are a blend with her Pilsner malt as well.
oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah,
I,
so
I
it's yeah.
have go ahead, Em.
No. I love your flexibility with
Yeah,
like you're
it's
like,
like
oh,
a chef,
yeah, like
right?
I have blank in the pantry. Like I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say it's kind of a two-way street. So there's a standard catalog of the malts that we try to keep available all the time. And so Amanda knows that we typically have those things available and has built recipes or thinks uses those malts when she's building recipes. But then there are times where we've made something that either was a new effort for us, so we were trying to make something, or it was a whoops, we overshot something when we were going for like a lighter Munich and ended up with a darker Munich. And she's always one of my first phone calls or texts in terms of like, hey, I've got this stuff that's not my standard. Do you want to give it a try for something? And um, I think Amanda is almost always up for throwing a few bags on in order to pilot something.
Hmm.
I have many follow-up questions.
Of course you do.
On that last one, Amanda, when you get that call from Hillary, is that like, oh, okay, I'll help you out, Hillary, or is that like, oh my God, that sounds really cool? Like, is what's your reaction to it? Is it positive or
Definitely
negative?
the latter. It's very exciting. I was actually just talking this morning about the Vienna lager I brewed a few summers ago with Odd Colony and how it was your first batch of Vienna malt. And I was like, cool, I'll make a Vienna lager. And you were like, whoa, like, whoa,
Yeah.
little. And I was like, no, we got this. So I'm usually pretty excited.
My other follow-up is, you were talking about how your loggers are 100% Rabbit Hill malt. Why like what does Hillary's malt provide that is really showcases so well in the lagers versus the IPAs or anything else?
I feel like the lagers just let the malt shine. We when we opened, we really like our whole ethos is really saison based. So anytime we can kind of use that towards other styles, it brings us a lot of joy. So we're super lucky to have Hillary in our state making amazing malt, and we kind of want to follow that for all of our styles. We don't really brew anything true to style. We kind of brew things like inspired by, and then at the end of the day it's all New Jersey malt, so it's out, it makes it ours, and I think
I
that's
see.
special.
Cool.
So I'm not Don, and I am not a
Thank God.
malt nerd. Yeah, it'd be weird if there were two Dons. So Hillary, like, where do you grow your barley, wheat, and oats? And I guess my like my a lot of this malt thing, me running it is like, how does this work? Like, what's the biggest obstacle growing where you do? Do you grow in New Jersey or other places? Like, I don't I have no idea how malting works for the most part, and I'm fascinated.
Sure. So we're a really small scale malt house, and we have our malt house on our family farm here in southern New Jersey. So all of the grains, currently, all of the grains that we are malting um, are grains that we grew on our own farm, which is everything would be within a mile of the malt house.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so um, we grow a few different varieties. This year it'll be 2 different varieties of barley, 2 or 3 different varieties of wheat. I think we're just down to 1 variety of oats, 1 variety of spelt, and just trying to appreciate the grains that we can produce here. We do also occasionally source some grains from other local New Jersey farms if it's something that we don't grow ourselves. So like Amanda in particular uses some corn for a light lager that comes from our next door neighbor. So pushing a few more miles out, but everything super, super local. And right now, it's the question of what's the hardest part of the process, or what's the most difficult part has shifted for us over the years. So in the beginning, it was figuring out how to get the malt quality that we wanted. And now we're much more at the making sure that we're predicting what brewers are going to want from us and making the right mix of styles of malt and having them available and inventoried. That's our biggest challenge right now.
What's
But
your
there's certainly lots of challenges like through
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole process if you wanted to talk malt process, but
I'm jealous. What's the thing that brewers ask for most? Is it base malt? I'm assuming yes, but I mean, is there something that like people come to you and they want something and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know this would be popular."
Well, I assumed it would be popular, but far and away our most commonly made malt and sold malt is our floor malted Pilsner. Everything is floor malted here, so I say floor malted Pilsner, but that's the only thing that we have. Everything's floor malted. Um, and that we also do a fair amount of wheat malt that we make from a red wheat that we've been growing on the farm for a while. Even before we started the malt house, we had some grain production here, and we were growing soft red wheat, and so we just started malting that. But yeah, the Pilsner is certainly our most popular.
I have a sort of a two-part question. The first part being for Hillary, and then the second part being for Amanda. Other than being local, what is the difference with local malt? Like you mentioned, Hillary, you grow 2 different um, barley varieties. What are their differences? And then once that gets into Amanda's hands, you know, how do you think about these different malts differently, I guess?
So for us, the different barley varieties so for the last couple of years, we've been down to a single barley variety. When we first started growing barley, we trialed several varieties each year, trying to find the one that we were going to be the happiest with the overall, the blend of the agronomics. So like, does it grow well? Does it produce a hardy crop? Do we get it within the malting specs that we want? And then the thing that has to marry up to that is then can we malt it and get out the variety of malts that we want and the malting characteristics that a brewer wants out of that variety. And so over the first 3 or 4 years that we were malting, we had multiple varieties going at once where we were trying different things. And then we landed on a variety that we were really happy with. And we stuck with that for the next couple of years. Going forward, we're back to trialing out a couple of varieties, not because I'm not happy with the variety we've been growing and malting this whole time, but more because I'm excited to see what kind of different things there are out there. And I also want to make sure that we have a variety that we can stick with in the long term. So as craft malting was exploding across the country, different seed suppliers made different varieties of barley available, and some of those have been consolidated or moved away from. And I want to make sure that I stay really consistent. And we love our variety. It's a variety called Scala, which was originally bred in Germany. and I really like it, but it was becoming difficult to get seed in each year. So this year we're trying a variety called Avalon, which was developed by Virginia Tech's breeding program, and has been adopted by several craft malt houses in the like mid-Atlantic, and even a little further south, so like North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland. I know people are growing it and malting it and enjoying it, so we wanted to give that a try, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Amanda, it's now in your hands.
Okay. I mean, by the time we got started, Hillary was pretty locked in. So I was just very excited to use basically whatever they had to offer. For us, I mean, taste, like I said, we don't really brew things to style. It's more just like inspired by. So I'm sure tasting our like Italian pills versus someone who uses something a little more truer to style, there are going to be differences, but that's something we kind of like hang our hat on and we're really proud of and we love to showcase.
Love it.
Amanda, when you use only like local ingredients, does that inhibit you or does that make it more creative? And then are there like any styles that lend better to the local malts that you're getting? And then I guess my last question of that threesome of questions is like customers come in and they're like excited about local malts, or are they just like, it's beer?
Um, I mean, style wise, I think what Hillary's growing kind of works with what we make. We're having a ton of fun using her grain and lager and saison. Um, I think it doesn't really prohibit us because we're so flexible in creating our recipes and creating new beer that it hasn't really been a problem. Um, as for customers, we talk about Rabbit Hill all over our menu, so we don't really give them a choice to not be excited. Um, I'm so excited about Rabbit Hill that like I think it kind of rubs off on my employees and then rubs off on people. I'm sure there are still people who are like cool grain, but I think a lot of people have like, and gotten a little invested in figuring out like, oh my God, the grain is from New Jersey and the flowers were handpicked by your staff from another local farm. And I think, we really tried to like tell a story with our beer and I think that all is connected.
Well, Amanda, to jump in on that, like you guys have also done extra work to try and connect your customers with some of the sourcing that you do. Like we have done some events together where we've had people out to the farm. You've done events where you've had people out to some of the other farms that you work with. We've done events in your brewery where we've forced people to listen to like a talk about the malting process before you gave them samples of things that they really wanted. And so like I feel like malt education is something that I've been excited about in the way that I'm always excited to talk about the things that I grow. It's one of the things that's beautiful and wonderful to me about farming in general. And Amanda like mirrors that energy a lot of time and gives us the opportunity to take that out into the world. So you at least have a certain subset of your customers who are, I think, excited. They sign up for the events.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I think some of them are still talking about the tractor rides around the farm, and there was nothing even really growing at that point. So I'm super excited to get everyone back to see it all in action.
Um, Last question. What is the future of your relationship? Like it sounds like such a great friendship. Where is it going from here? And or how would you encourage other brewers and maltsters to emulate what you're doing? Open and
Hillary?
that's a toss up. Yeah.
Well, I think it's definitely an emulatable relationship. So there are craft malt houses across the country now. You can find so you can find a partner for yourself somewhere near your brewery, and develop this type of friendship relationship with your small business partners if you want to. And I think this is something that was exciting for me as we we got into malting was the ability to think about my customers in a way that's not just a transactional customer relationship. There's so much value there for us in feeling like the work that we do every day to grow and malt is appreciated, and through our business to business relationship and then through to the customer. So it's definitely emulatable, and I hope to see it grow and to see other people looking for that less transactional, more depth of conversation around ingredients in their brewery. In terms of where our relationship goes with the seed, I mean, I just have to find a way to make more malt, and then the sky's the limit.
Awesome. Amanda, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I said this, but I just feel super lucky that I do always have Hillary a phone call or text away to just talk malt. And it's been kind of fun for me now, like doing collabs with breweries around the state. And like I always was like, okay, like we're gonna do this collab, but our condition is we have to incorporate Rabbit Hill into it. And now people are like, before I even say anything, they're like, okay, so if we make an IPA, normally we put Rabbit Hill wheat in it. Is that cool? And I'm like, yes. Like it's fun for me to know that now I'm like synonymous with this. And I always joke with Hillary that like I'm the worst salesperson in the world, but like I'm a great Rabbit Hill salesperson.
She is 100% my best salesperson.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Can you both share your social media handles and websites so people can follow along with what you're up to? Hillary, why don't you go first?
Sure. On Instagram, we're at rabbit_hill_malthouse. And you can find us at rabbithillmalt.com.
For us, Instagram at the Seed Beer, and same thing, our website at theseedbeer.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Your relationship is beautiful. I wish more breweries had like such a nice relationship between the like what they make, like how they brew, and like the local stuff that they make. It's charming. I love it. I'm so full of joy right now. It's beautiful. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks.
And we'll be right back with Matt St. Jean and Aaron Crossett of Stone Path Malting right after these messages. If you enjoy the All About Beer podcast, please thank our sponsors.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family-owned, operated, and argued over.
Matt St. Jean is the current sales director for Stone Path Malt, a malt distribution and taproom based out of Wareham, Massachusetts. After working in the local TV industry for 6 years, Matt moved back to his home state to work for the family business. From pouring local beers that use Stone Path's malt in the taproom to driving to breweries all across New England, Matt has gotten a crash course in the craft beer and malt industry. Aaron Crossett joined the team at Stone Path Malt as the Director of Operations in August of 2020. Since then, Stone Path has produced just shy of 1 million pounds of high-quality base and specialty malts for craft brewers around New England. Prior to starting his malting career, Aaron's history in pub and production brewing date back to 2005. In that time, he's held a variety of roles across all areas of production and management. Welcome to the show, Matt and Aaron.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So, for people who don't know, Stone Path Malt is a malt house in Wareham, Mass, which is south of Boston, correct?
Yep,
Near
right before the bridge to Cape Cod.
Oh, what a lovely area.
It is a very lovely area.
That is a very nice area. So, can you, for people who aren't familiar with can you give a little bit, and I'll have Matt do this, just a little bit of how you guys started, and then I want to talk about how you have a tap room where you sell the people who use your malts beers, because I find that fascinating.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. So we technically started in 2015, where Mike Schroth and Mark St. Jean, my father, had the brilliant idea to do a malt operation at scale. So they partnered with a German company that is now Erix to buy equipment and then import malt at the time to do some market research, which I was living in Boston at the time, and all I saw my dad doing was going to breweries all around New England and was supremely jealous of that endeavor. And then in late 2018, they opened up the Wareham facility with the malt equipment so that we could not only import from Erix, but also do our own Northeast malt. And in addition to that, they built a tap room with 8 rotating taps that features beers from breweries all across New England that use our malt. So now in 2025, we've kind of evolved into a event space slash, we can't technically say restaurant, but we have a catering company that gives us a weekly menu that works out of a kitchen that we built for them post-COVID. Because as we all know, in Massachusetts, you needed to have food in order to reopen. So that's kind of how we got that, and that's been a great working relationship. And then we use barley sourced from northern Maine for our Northeast line, and we love those farmers up in northern Maine, almost in Mapleton, Maine, up by the Canadian border, to kind of have 2 different kinds of malt, our Northeast malt, and then we still get in some imports and specialties from our German partner in Erix.
Oh, so you import malt as well? Did I understand that right?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Sorry, Anna,
Yeah,
I interrupted you.
no, that's fine,
No.
and it's been great just because we can really lean into that we're a New England local malt company, and then we also have Erix that they don't have as much of a footprint over in the United States, but they're one of the biggest malt producers in Europe, in Germany. So if we have a customer that is really leaning into a German style of beer, we have those German malts available. And then we have some brewers that are really into using local malt at quality and scale. And that's when we sell them our Northeast line.
Um, so I guess this is maybe a question for Aaron. You mentioned, Matt, you mentioned that you're using, for your own malt, the malt from um, Maine. What does that barley provide? And then what does your malt do that, you are selling imported malts as well. So what does your malt have that, you can't otherwise buy? What do you add to the equation, I guess?
All right. Well, first of all, we keep everything in single variety. So all of our batches go out as a single batch and as a single malt, if you will. Like we're not blending various barley varieties to hit certain specs.
Right.
The variety that we use is a little older one. It's called Newdale. It's got a nice sturdy husk. It grows pretty well for our farmer. And it's also not too tannic and doesn't get too bitter.
Okay, that's cool. That's simple and easy.
Yeah.
And then are you guys the only like maltster that also sells the beer that people use from the malt? Like I've never heard of that before.
We are one of one.
One of one. Wow. Um, and what is like customer response when people come in? They get to try what kind of like who are you serving right now?
So we have, I think we're in over 100 breweries across New England.
Wow.
Obviously, there's some distribution hurdles, which I feel like is a whole separate podcast for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but in terms of if we can put a beer in our tap room, we will put it in there. And so we kind of there is some like strategy in order what beers we have in our tap room, which are very similar to just the general brewery. Like we always have to have a New England IPA as one of our eight, one or two. And then it's really pilsners, lagers, brown ales. Like we ask the brewer, hey, what did you use our malt in? And then yeah, we take it. So we try to keep to the kind of industry standard of beer offerings, just because that's what the average New England beer drinker likes. Like the New England, then we have the wonderful small yet mighty porter and stout crew. So we always try to have a dark beer on, but essentially we talk to our brewers. What do you have on sale? What do you want us to use? And then we buy it and put it in there.
Do you collab? Have you ever gone to one of the breweries that you sell in the tap room and you're like, hey, could you make me this? Or is that kind of not, is it more hands off? You go and say, what do you have?
I wonder if it also goes the other way. Like, do brewers come to you and say, "Can you make me this type of malt?"
Oh, yeah.
Um, so we have done some collaborations in the past to answer the first part of that question. I've been brewing in New England for quite a long time, so I've got some friends around, and we've done some collaboration beers and brought those beers in here. As far as, a sort of kind of custom malt, at our scale, that can be a little difficult because if somebody wants us to produce a custom malt for them, they have to commit to roughly 8.5 tons. So for a lot of smaller craft brewers, that's a really big commitment.
Mm.
Not that we haven't been asked, it's just we've never really been able to get it over the finish line because of the scale.
Just as a matter of perspective, 8.5 tons. Can you put that into like beer terms for people?
8.5 tons, depending on the strength, would probably produce somewhere around, would be probably a couple hundred barrels.
Couple hundred barrels. Okay.
Yeah.
And then again for scale, compared to a raw or a country malt group, like what are their batch sizes? Just so people know how small you are.
Infinitely bigger. So we kind
Yeah.
we kind of sit in this weird space where especially in our region, a lot of the craft maltsters around New England kind of started to either floor malting or very small scale. It's been exciting to see for the industry that they have started to scale up now. So we used to sort of sit in the middle, but with, you know, comparison to like a raw or Canada malting or crisp, we are extremely small.
Yeah, like they would be
They're
they would be
they're
doing like
probably
50,000 tons at a time or something, right? Or 50 tons at a
yeah,
time. Yeah.
they'll have multiple salad in boxes or um in some cases larger floor malting operations where yeah, I mean their batch sizes can be upwards of 100 to 300 tons
Right.
and
Okay.
they've got 4 to 5 of them going at any given time.
Awesome. Um,
Right, which is why we've like really focused and hammered down on New England. Like this is our area, and when we say that we're local, we're like local, but to like a reasonable scale within the region. And then the added benefit of us being kind of like small and versatile, that like we truly value the customers that use our malt, and we try to prove that through, putting them in our tap room, being able to access us at any hour of the day, 24/7. I tell on the road that brewers can text me anytime if they have any problems or have any emergencies. And then we actually live up to that promise. So we're really leaning into kind of like we're a New England malt company, and we care about the breweries that are within our region.
okay.
Why do you think that that's important? Like, I don't know a lot of places that you could just like speed dial like the malt house. Like, is it just trying to be a good small business or the local aspect? I mean, there could be many reasons, but not
So
sure.
yeah, so because of that, like that scaling issue that that Aaron alluded to, is that we have to be,
Hmm.
because we're not BSG one stop shop where you can get cleaning equipment and hops and all that stuff. So it's also like a personality thing. I think Mark, since I moved back, has like really instilled that to me, that like when we get a brewer on board, that they're truly part of our family. So that's like a little bit of the father son dynamic, and that I know that I talk to the brewers enough. I on the road probably 20 to 25 hours a week, going to breweries and talking to these guys and hearing about the issues that they have. And we have a lot of small to mid-sized breweries that are a drop in the bucket to a Country Malt or a BSG, but we're actually there on the ground talking with them, and that I personally want to see them succeed. A small example is Shoveltown in Easton. Their order from BSG got a little messed up, and the guy knew that he could text me, call me, and be like, "Hey, we have an emergency." And then we, milled that order that day, and he came and picked it up the following afternoon. We value our clients, and we value the beers that they make, because if they're making good beer with our malt and we know it's going to be a good beer, that we can also turn around and sell that in our tap room.
I like that.
Yeah, and
Um,
a good way to think about it is we don't really see brewers as customers. We see them more as business partners, and you know, kind of working that relationship and bringing everything full circle with, we can, deliver malt, they can make the beer, it comes back here, our local consumer gets to enjoy that product that's could be from 80 or 100 miles away, and they would never get to try it. So
hmm. I wonder if people come into the tap room and go, "Wow, I can really taste the New Dale barley." Just kidding.
uh
Some of
Only
them.
only you, John, and maybe some of them.
um, can you talk about what kind of malts you make, and then like, and you mentioned that you import some malts as well. What about those malts can't you make? Like, why can't you make those such that you have to import them?
Um, Largely to the facts, again, going back to that scale, if you think any given recipe, how much of like a darker crystal malt is going to be in that? If we were to run, call it 10 metric tons of a crystal 60, I mean, that's maybe 5% of a given recipe in any
Right.
brewery. So it becomes more of a product turnover problem at that point.
I see.
Um, we tend to focus mostly on base malts. We do we call it our foam. It's a chit malt. And then we also produce a Munich and Vienna, but 85% of our production is between Pilsner and pale malts.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And then there's the small fine print of when Casper Schultz allowed us to purchase their equipment and put it in the United States. It was like the first any malt house that used that equipment in the United States. We're obligated to take on some of their inventory as well.
Ah, okay. So there's some, okay, got it. So you guys have been around for 10 years or so, or was started. What does the future hold for Stone Path? There was talk of maybe opening an R&D brewery, or maybe some other stuff with the tap room, or maybe growing. Yeah, what does the future hold for you guys?
Aaron, I'll let you talk about the brewery if you want.
Yeah, so I mean, the brewery is going to be a cool step for us. We've started planning it out and filing paperwork with the DTB in the state and talking to the town, all the other things every other brewer has to do. But that's going to be really exciting. We'll be able to play around with our own malt and do some fun things that actually showcase, the flavor and what we can bring to a beer. Which is also kind of the focus of our malting operation, is trying to produce grain that brings things to the beer and doesn't really pull anything away. But outside of that, we'll also be able to serve those beers in the tap room and get to play around with doing some side by sides and whatnot.
And then
Nice.
on my end, it's a really cool opportunity for some of the brewers in states outside of Massachusetts that can't distribute into Massachusetts, that we can get them into the tap room and do some collabs,
Nice.
so that you can say like we have like Clocktown in Thomaston, Connecticut. They don't distribute into Massachusetts, but Matt can come into our tap room, do a beer with us, and then we can slap the Clocktown title onto it in collaboration with Clocktown. So it's a really cool, another aspect of kind of like our client care, that we can actually have them come in and try some things that maybe they don't have room for in between other distribution and other kind of flagship obligations in their tap room, and can come into Stone Path and kind of do some experimenting, which is exciting.
Very cool. So yeah, the future looks bright for y'all, which is exciting. I look forward to. I will come and visit. It is close-ish to where I live. I promise I'll come and visit. Very exciting stuff. Before we leave, do you guys have a social media or a website you'd like to share, so people can reach out and learn more about what you're up to and what the future holds?
Yeah, so we've got our Facebook and Instagram page, which is just at Stone Path Malt. There is a Stone Path Malt taproom Instagram page as well, that kind of showcases what we've been doing in the tap room. But yeah, either of those avenues, we'll get to one of us. And if any brewers have any questions, yeah, they can reach out to Aaron or myself. We'll get those messages.
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, of
blast.
course.
Thanks, Em.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Cheers.
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 So Don, how do you think that went? Are you sufficiently nerded out? Are you excited about local
Uh,
malt?
I'm very passionate about local malt. It's something and I'm happy that we got to, share the story of these two maltsters with people. There's so much more to it, and so I hope
Oh
that
yeah.
people can dive into it and understand that local malt, it helps farmers, it helps brewers, it helps the economy. So get into it. How about you?
I
What's your takeaway?
I really like how I didn't even think about this. I love how local maltsters are like a phone call away. If I own a small business, a brewery, and I need something, I know that I can call both these businesses or other local maltsters and say, "Hey, what do you got?" And they can get me my malt ASAP. Like I like that small
Yeah.
business ethos. I think that's just very cool.
Well, and it's kind of like what like we're seeing in malt now, what
Hmm.
I think decades ago started with craft beer, or how craft beer started. So I think it's an exciting time in malt.
Super exciting.
Get on the bandwagon, everybody.
Yes. Please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And please support us. Go to allaboutbeer.com/support to support this show and others. If you have any questions for the experts, email podcast@allaboutbeer.com. That's also the email for feedback, suggestions, or to inquire about supporting the show through advertising. Don, how can people reach out to you?
On most social media, I'm at the Dawn of Beer, but not on Facebook. I don't know why. And people who want to drop me an email, I am dawn@thedawnofbeer.com. How about you, Em?
I am at Pints and Panels on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and my website is www.pintsandpanels.com. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your friends, post about us on social media, and like and subscribe to the show. Please help us spread the word of good beer. And here's a final word from our sponsor.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family owned, operated, and argued over.
This show is produced by All About Beer. Visit allaboutbeer.com for articles, notes on this show and others, and to connect via the newsletter and social media. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Yay, local malt.
Yeah, taste the new Dale.